Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Luigi's Mansion. In the last part, we finished off Area 3 and got started on Area 4, the final chunk of the game. And now, we're in the middle of the power outage still. We spent a good chunk of last part grabbing some golden mice and speedy spirits we couldn't grab prior. And we're going to continue doing that really quick before we go look for Uncle Grimly, like Egad suggested, because notably there's also a new speedy spirit we can grab here in the Area 1 chunk of the game. Namely, it is located in Chauncey's crib. I have to imagine the speedy spirits that only spawn here during the blackout, namely this one and the one over in the conservatory where we fought Melody, were probably largely found through the strategy guides. In the early years, albeit there's also a good chance that players just experimenting around, especially for like early speedrun stuff, probably found it when they were trying to just max out their gold potential, checking everything at every point in the game just in case new money spawned or the random chance rolls in their favor this time and the money actually does pop out of something. So, Uncle Grimly. Egad actually gave us a pretty good hint on where he could be. He mentioned that Uncle Grimly likes to be in rooms that have mirrors. And to be fair, there are a lot of rooms with mirrors in the game. However, thinking about the fact they're probably not going to put him in a room where there already was a portrait ghost, like the billiards room, or was a save point with Toad, or is just a small room to begin with, the options do become limited pretty quickly, and even then, the mansion is only so big, so just exploring around, you'll probably find Grimly eventually, but he is located over here in the dressing room from part 1.
Nobody will find me because I'm old, cranky, and bad gum people are afraid of me.
Sure they are, Grimly. Sure. Grimly works a lot like Neville, the first portrait ghost from Area 1, in that his weak point gets revealed just by looking away from him for a certain period of time. He does put down the weakness pretty quickly compared to Neville, yes, but ultimately he's a very easy portrait ghost, and due to how open this specific room is, if you've figured out how to drain the HP pretty reliably with Luigi, this is a very easy gold ranking to get. As for why we needed to fight Grimly at all, well, he guards a key, and this key goes to the breaker room in the basement that we were first able to access in Area 2. Which has always kind of bothered me. Not so much that he guards a key, no, that's pretty standard. But the breaker room getting locked for Area 4, especially during the blackout, is the only time they go out of their way to lock a door you already could open. And it just really stands out. I guess they maybe wanted to make you fight a certain amount of bosses in the story. Maybe this was their way of putting Grimly into that count, but it always just felt kind of weird because it's the only time the game does something like that and doesn't really stands out. But that said, accessing the breaker room from here is a pretty straightforward task. Just gotta get down to here, go on in, and flip the breaker. There's not even any real ghosts to fight in here. Now, I'll need to look into this a little more precisely, but I think in the case you didn't get the speedy spirit that was in this room during our trek through Area 2, at this point, it is technically despawned, so you wouldn't be able to get it now, but in the case I'm wrong about that, future me, correct me, if you would please. That's the breaker pulled, and now power's restored, so now we can go about exploring the earlier areas of the game nice and safely. But we also get a key here allowing us to access another room down here in the basement, which you don't need to do now at all. In fact, I could recommend honestly waiting to explore the rooms down here more in depth, as not only do we have our early 200 plus HP booze, but also, just for the sake of convenience, it's better to head up to the 3rd floor and explore the new rooms there, as we're not going to be able to get too far here in the basement at this point. With that said, once we're in this room, first duty business, check the box directly to Luigi's left, or I guess Luigi's right, technically, as our next speedy spirit is within that crate. This is actually probably one of the hardest speedy spirits to catch in the game if they get away from you at first, as not only do they start a little higher, but because of this room's very crowded arrangement, and the dust before you actively have to vacuum up to actively get anywhere, it's easy for this speedy spirit to either just run away from being around too long, or for you to accidentally hit it with your flashlight and then it just vanishes, thus you lose it. Otherwise, though, to light this room up, we need to actively catch the real ghosts who are in here, who are both hidden in the barrels surrounding the place. Notably, you might think this room will be slow to go through on revisits because you have to vacuum the dust up every single time, and that is technically true, but under the dust in the top right and some dust in the bottom left of the room, there are some of those flipping gravity plates we saw back in the 2nd floor, I forget the name of it, the dining room adjacent thing, to help speed this place up a little bit. Wait, actually no, ignore 2 minutes ago, me. we do need to come into this room for that key to access the room beyond the room where we talked to Egad and Toad on that telephone last time. Whoopsie! In my head, I don't know why that key is gotten in that exact room with the telephones. I just always remember that being the case, but no, it basically never is. The basement is the worst place in the game to do boo hunting on the macro scale, by the way, as, well, there's not a lot of rooms. The shape of the previous room where we have to go around the dust just sucks to backtrack through back and forth in the case, say, a boo gets into the breaker room again and again. It's just kind of annoying. While we're down here, though, we might as well take a look at what's beyond the door we can actually get into, as it's the furthest reaches we can see. What do we got here? The spade door. Oh!
White gloves, a cute little mustache, soft shoes. How did you get out of my... wait just a second. Your clothes are green. Hey, you must be Luigi. Wow, you have me a bit confused for a moment there. What? You want me to release Mario? Right. No, I will not give up my favorite decoration. I like Mario just where he is. Hey, so what's that you got there? A Poltergust 3000? Uh-oh. What should we do, boos? Oh, good idea, guys. All boos in this area gather your strength. We'll blow them away. We'll take a big boo breath and blow you away.
Accessing that door from that angle at the moment will just blow us back to the foyer. We cannot access that door, even if we don't have the spade key yet, until we have a certain amount of boos captured, hence why I brought up you need to catch a certain amount of them earlier in the LP. Again, I forget if it's 40 or 45. Future me, reiterate the correction I probably already made here, please. So, let's speed our way back to the second floor hallway so we can actually explore the new parts of the third floor here in Area 4. Oh, also, I just realized I never got to read Grimley's bio. Uncle Grimley is the hermit of the darkness. Adrift in the darkness, he tends to keep to himself, which suits the rest of the family just fine. I mean, I guess we all have that one uncle. We know the one. So the telephone room, now that the power is restored, we actually have to put the lights on in here, and the way we do that is check some of the chests around here, and grab the skeleton ghosts that they have within them. All the while, make sure you vacuum things like the ceiling lights, the dressers, and all that to get as much money as you can. Albeit at this point, if you're getting close on the number of boos and you've already found the gold diamond from the flower in the boneyard, you're probably going to be doing just fine on money, barring the amount of pearls you get from boss fights. Honestly, in that regard, what makes getting like the lowest rank in this game so hard is the amount of money that pearls are worth is high enough where you effectively need to try and just get none, or at least very low value ones consistently. So you're constantly only doing like maybe 10 to 15 HP at a time and then letting go of the capture and all that. The attic is where the 300 HP boos become very prevalent, and these guys just suck to catch. Very regularly throughout the remainder of the LP. If I'm catching one of these guys and they flee a room, I just start speeding up the footage because it's just annoying. With that boo out of the way for now, and the lights restored to the telephone room, though, we're gonna find the fake boo, I think, here really quick just to clear off the radar. And then we're gonna actually use the key we got in the basement to open up that door up there. And honestly, the next room is one of the more overwhelming seeming ones on a first run. Also, this room's clearing is technically optional because all you get here is money, but you might as well just to have the room safe from ghosts spawning in moving forward in case you need to backtrack while chasing boos or anything like that. Let alone, you know, catching all the boos to begin with, actually. Welcome to the room of the Clockwork Soldiers, the toy platoon. They once belonged to a tightly wound toy collector, but now they march on their own without any winding. This is one of my favorite rooms in the game.
The valve. The valve.
Each one of them does have something slightly different hint to what to do here.
Squeak, squeak.
Hey, stop looking at me! So in order to get the boss fight here properly started, we need to investigate every single thing that has a clockwork piece on it. All the clocks in the two corners, and then that one right there. and then the 3 Clockwork Soldiers will come to life and attack you. The way the soldiers themselves work is that they'll move towards you and actively use the plunger of their gun to try and hit you outright. But you need to actively vacuum away at their clockwork key before you can actually do damage to their health bars. Speaking of which, there are 3 of them, so that's 300 total health split between the 3. But like with the twins, only one of them actively drops pearls, and thus only one of them actively counts for your portrait ranking at the end of the area. Notably, in this case, it's the blue one who is in the center. But before you even remotely start tackling him, like with the twins, I recommend taking care of the other 2 first, as any mishaps that happen along the way won't impact your end-of-game money total or portrait rank due to that. Can definitely be a little annoying, especially because I swear some of them are a little more aggressive than others. But as long as you get some good distance between them, even if you take some hits along the way, it's not going to matter too much. Thankfully, due to the shape of this room as well, there's enough space in both the sides and the center that there's plenty of time for you to get some good damage without being obstructed by a table that can potentially break off your capture. I like this room a lot. I like this boss a lot. I like this. I think this is probably my favorite multi-ghost boss fight in the game on the long run, honestly. Not that there's too many of those to begin with. Now, I don't exactly know how to even phrase this, but looking back at this game and then looking back at 2 and 3, I do think this game does a better job of both blending its boss fights in with the normal ghosts while also still making them feel visually distinct. Because with the way they design encounters in 3, where a lot more of the generic ghosts get cutscenes especially dedicated to their tomfoolery, it feels like the boss ghosts in 3, as good as their designs are, especially in concept art, blend in a little too much with some of the basic ghosts. But I think that also comes down to 2 and 3 are also slightly different in their focus, both in terms of stage design, but also how they do their tone. Like, the entire series is horror-themed, but Luigi's Mansion 1, I feel, actively tries to be a little intense for kids, whereas Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3, especially 3, feel more like goofy, horror-themed theme parks, effectively. And I think that difference in tone is what kind of causes the kind of disconnect I'm kind of talking about here. In fact, honestly, on that note, it'd be really neat to see if the inevitable Luigi's Mansion 4 is actually based in a theme park. I think they could do a lot there, because they could still do the levels that are themed around specific things with the individual, like, subsections of a theme park. They could have the rides be set pieces within those. And they might even be able to push some of the visuals even in the direction that's a little, I'm not going to say tackier, that doesn't feel right, but at least more zany, because they don't want to worry about the constraints of, say, the hotel in 3, or the mansions in 2, or even the mansions here in 1. With that said, welcome to the highest point of the mansion, the rooftop. I remember distinctly when I first got here, this room just weirdly scared me, and I think it's because I was just very weirdly afraid that I would get struck by lightning in-game. Because growing up, I had a surprisingly crippling fear of thunder specifically. Not the lightning that can actually kill you, the sound it made, which in retrospect is just kind of funny. If there's anything I really do lament from aging, outside of, you know, the back pain, I do at times genuinely miss how brains process information when we're younger. Like, things just seem so much bigger, they seem so much more mysterious and all that, but as you get older and you start to realize trends in things, be it writing, design, or even just understanding the machinations that make the world work, there is a little bit of a energy that's lost when that happens. It's a good thing to lose, I guess, in the long term, because you understand more. But there is something kind of wondrous and whimsical about that I do kind of miss about when I was a kid. Like, I remember playing A Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time, and those games felt so much bigger than they actively are, because, for one thing, you probably didn't get as far as regularly, because you would probably get stuck and restart the game like I did several times in basically every game I played. But it's just something I kind of miss. Honestly, in that regard, it's one thing I do appreciate about games like Breath of the Wild with how vast they are, where it feels like a recapturing of that, and I think that's why those games kind of resonate with people a lot. Albeit if games start to copy that too much and just do the same thing over and over again, that also starts to be a bit of a problem. So we got all the ghosts up here, which allowed us to get ourselves the key to a room on the 3rd floor as it is, but we can also fall down the chimney on the right to reach the sealed room. This is near the stairs to the attic on the 2nd floor. And I got real lucky there. That golden mouse spawns randomly when you run in here. And the annoying thing is, in the case it doesn't spawn on your first visit, you have to go to the top right corner of the room, vacuum a cloth off a mirror, use it to warp back to the foyer, walk all the way back up to the roof, fall back down, and try again. On my test playthrough and recording, I was doing that for about 15 minutes before it spawned in at minimum, and that's annoying. Thankfully, it's probably the most out-of-the-way gold mouse in the game, and honestly, at this point in the game, if you're playing along, you probably are going to get more than enough money from remaining bosses that you don't need to worry about that for getting a high rank. At least in the US and Japanese GameCube releases. 3DS release or PAL version, not so much. With that said, this being another, like, treasure vault, like the hidden room on the first floor's southwestern corner, you're going to get a lot of money in here. There's no other golden mice. There's treasure chests that contain a bunch of money. There's ghosts in here you can capture that will get even more money once the room is cleared. This is a very good room to visit. And if you're trying to get 100%, you need to anyway, now that I think about it. With that said, once the golden mouse is out of the way, I'd recommend just taking the treasure chests one at a time, either to grab the money one at a time so you don't have to worry about the ghosts interfering, or just to take care of the ghosts when they spawn in directly. As trying to do everything all at once, you're probably going to lose some money or take some stupid hits and thus lose a little bit more coinage and all that. With that said, I'm actually not certain what happens if you get hit while you don't have any more coins to lose. I'm not sure if Luigi drops the dollar bills or something like that. Because the only time that would really probably happen is if I intentionally tried to get the lowest rank, which, if I've only done that once, and that probably just wouldn't be very fun for me. I do find the existence of this room kind of interesting, because I think the way that's sort of meant to work is that this room is meant to be easy to find, and then you notice that this room is marked on the map, just not accessible through a door, plus you can see the door that's boarded up in the hallway on the way up to the 3rd floor. And thus, you might start to look for how to get into the other room that's similarly marked on the map that just doesn't have a door marked. I find the way they do that very cool. With that said, clearing this room grabs us a chest, which doesn't actively contain money in this case. This contains a key to a locked door that is completely optional in the game's pathing, unless you're trying to get 100%, of course. Notably, it opens the door just to the south of us on the 2nd floor. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 10, we're going to continue on in Area 4, getting pretty close to the end of it in the process. See you guys then.